Dear students, Namaskar. I hope you're all safe and healthy. Today we will be discussing several aspects of public speaking. But before we begin, please excuse my handwriting in the session. Right. Okay. Students, before we start with public speaking, it is essential that we learn what is communication. Right. Okay. So communication is the transmission of information from a sender to a receiver using a certain medium. Now, let's say that you are having a normal conversation with your friend. This is you, this is your friend. Right. So when you are speaking to your friend, you become a sender and your friend becomes a receiver. And the medium of communication is oral. If you write a letter to your friend, you are again a sender, your friend is again a receiver, but the medium changes. The medium of communication becomes written. Our paper EN 3103 deals with oral communication. Now, in the above situation, let's say, after you have finished speaking to your friend says a few things to you, speaks something to you. In that case, your friend becomes a sender and you've become a receiver. Which is why communication is a two-way process. And when it becomes a two-way process, that is when it can be called an effective communication. Right. Okay, so with that, let's come to public speaking. Just give me a minute. Right. Okay, so public speaking. Now, there are two aspects of public speaking in our syllabus, informal and formal. And we will not only be discussing them, but we will also be practicing them. Right. Now, let's try to understand what is informal and formal speaking. Now, informal speaking is oral communication with our friends, our family members, and relatives. Now, formal. Formal speaking is oral communication with people in a professional, corporate, or an academic environment. Yes. Okay. Now, how do we differentiate between informal and formal speech? Um, Informal speech is personal in nature, whereas formal speech is impersonal in nature. Informal speech may include slang. Now, what is a slang? Slang is a type of a vocabulary which is used by one particular group, let's say youths or teenagers, and this type of vocabulary is only limited to that to a particular group, but not to the general population or overall population. So that is what slang means. Informal speech may include slang. Formal speech does not include slang. Informal speech may include contraction. Now, what is a contraction? Contraction is a shortening of two words into one. You shorten two words and you combine it into one word. Let's say, for example, can't or won't, and even don't. So these are contractions. Informal speech may include contraction. Formal speech does not include contraction. You write in a formal speech, you speak a formal writing in a formal writing, you write, or formal speech, you say cannot or will not, do not. Right. So that is a contraction. Informal speech is simple in nature. It's simple in nature because less words, shorter sentences, whereas formal speech is a little complex in nature as there are more number of words and longer sentences. So it makes a little it makes it a little complex. Informal speech usually displays some or the other level of emotion. So there is a display of emotion in an informal speech, whereas in formal speech, there is minimum display of emotion. Right. I hope we have understood a little about informal and formal speech, which is why I have a task in mind for all of you. Now, what the task is all about, that I will be revealing in the later part of the session. So that is pending. But I want to come to formal speech. And there are several different scenarios where we use formal speech. One of an essential scenario, a very important scenario, is group discussion or GD, in short, that we are aware about it. So, today, the rest of the session, I will be discussing how to use formal speech in group discussion. What are the different characteristics of group discussion, and how should we be conducting ourselves in a group discussion? To begin with, what are the features of a group discussion? So it's a spontaneous form of conversation. It's a spontaneous form of conversation because it is not pre-planned. Right. The discussion, the topic, excuse me, the discussion revolves around a single topic. And group discussion is generally, it it has a friendly atmosphere to it. Okay. Now, I I say friendly atmosphere because usually, let's say in an interview where where the participant is alone in front of the jury, so there might be a sense of nervousness to the participant. Usually, such amount of nervousness is not present in a group discussion because in a group discussion, all the participants are on the same level, similar platform, same platform. Right. Okay. Next point. Right. Very important. How to be successful in a group discussion. Now, the first point that I've included in my presentation is we need to have a proper strategy in our mind uh, when we enter group discussion. We need to decide whether we are going to speak in favor of the topic or against the topic. So we need to plan our strategy according to the topic that we have in our mind. We should be able to explain why we are in favor of the topic or why we are against the notion. Right. The second point is when we have decided whether we are in favor of or against the topic, for every argument that we give, we need to substantiate it with valid reasons. We need to give valid reasons for the same. So, and we have to make sure that the reasons that we are presenting are different or innovative from the rest of the reasons given by the other participants. So, strategy, valid reasons, use of formal language and decent behavior. So, no use of slangs, no use of contraction. We need to keep our emotions in check, and our behavior should be decent. You know, there might be situation when someone might become aggressive and speak such words such as "you are wrong" or let's say what you are saying is baseless. Avoid using such words. Instead of it, we can say, you may be correct, but, and then your argument. So, behavior should be decent, and we should be using formal language, right? Okay. um, we should be good listener. Uh, this is very important because whenever the other participant is speaking, we should try to listen attentively. And we should not interrupt until the other participant has finished his or her argument. So, in a group discussion, every participant will speak and listen to each other. Yes. Next point, we should not try to dominate others, undermine others, or even humiliate others. This is the biggest mistake that participants make in a group discussion. Uh, they try to dominate others. They feel that if they will be if they will be speaking for the maximum time, they would be selected for that particular job. And this is an incorrect way of thinking. Never try to dominate others. Right. Okay. So, not making fun. Not to make fun of others, ridiculing others, humiliating others, laughing at them on the points that they are making. We should avoid to do these aspects, right? Uh, this again goes back to the same point of listening patiently and attentively to others. And the last point that I have included in my presentation, in my session rather, is we should contribute healthily. Healthily, in a sense, we should participate wholeheartedly and continuously throughout the discussion. Throughout the discussion. Right. And, the moment that you get an opportunity to intervene, take it immediately and present your argument, because um, it might be difficult to steer the discussion back on a particular point. So we should be contributing healthily to the group discussion. With that, I come to the end of today's session. But I have two important tasks this time that I have thought, and I'll be allotting it to everyone. Let me first come to the informal speech task. Now, the informal speech, what you have to do is that you need to give a call to your friend. Call your friend, and you need to talk with your friend for about 2 minutes. So the conversation that both of you have should be a minimum for 2 minutes, and since it is informal in nature, try to be as informal as you can. Just one humble request to all of you is that do not try to make planning about the informal conversation that you will be having with your friend. Don't plan it. Give a call to your friend. Make sure that you record your call, and talk to your friend for about 2 minutes, and you need to email me the conversation, the informal conversation that you have with your friend. Now, with whom will you be talking? That is something that I'll be revealing in the WhatsApp group. I will be making pairs, and I'll be sharing the names of the students in the WhatsApp group. So that is the informal speech task. Formal speech task, group discussion task. Now, what I expect from all of you is that I will be making a group of 5 students. So there are 30 students in our class. I will be making 6 groups, and each group will consist of 5 students. Right. And what you have to do is discuss in a group discussion. Now, I am expecting topics from you. Once I share the video with you, and once you go through the video, do let me know if you have any interesting topics in your mind. Do post it in the WhatsApp group, and I will decide on one, or maybe I'll take an opinion from all of us, and the topic that receives the majority of us will be selected as the topic of group discussion for all the 6 groups. Now, which 5 students will be interacting with each other in a group? This again I will be sharing in the WhatsApp group. So I will be deciding 6 groups, each group of 5 students, and I will share all the names of the students of all the 6 groups in our WhatsApp group. Very important. Now, what you have to do is that, see, every telecom subscriber um, has the facility of conference calls. Every telecom subscriber. So what you have to do is that the 5 students, um, the 5 participants in the group discussion, you need to decide a time, a date and time where you will be discussing the topic that is allotted to you, and make sure that you record your group discussion, because again I will be going through the group discussion once you email it to me. Yes. Does it sound interesting? Okay. So, in case if you're not able to decide a topic for group discussion, I have a few topics in my mind which I'll be sharing it with you, and later on we all can take a majority out of the given topics and decide on one topic and go for the group discussion. Just one thing is that make sure that your group does not exceed more than 15 minutes of group discussion, and before every group starts the group discussion, I request all the participants to uh, to uh, share their name and roll number. This is just only in the beginning of the group discussion, only in the beginning, not every time that you speak, so that I will be able to recognize from the arguments who is speaking. Right. That's it for today. I hope you are enjoying your time at home. I hope you are all safe and healthy. Please take care of yourselves and your family members. And I am looking forward to your submissions of the informal speech as well as group discussions. Take your time. Is 1 week enough for these two tasks? Let me know. There is no compulsion from my side. Right. Thank you, students. Take care.